Oh, you're saying? Okay. What do we do to adjust change? We need to have both flexibility, but also in a world where there's absolutely much uncertainty. So what do? We're going to put now into our documents things that people are calling trust protectors. Now in our office we use the word trust advisor, but they're really the same structure. In the wealth counsel system we use it, it allows you to use advisor protector as the case may be. It's interchangeable, but we do that. What other things? Marital deduction formulas. Golly Moses. We got a lot of states with different issues. We have Maryland has a series of issues. They have a state estate tax. D.C. has a state or district of Columbia estate tax, both of which kick in at $1 million. And I have to retain enough flexibility to deal with that with my marital deduction to get the best result I can possibly get. So I have to think about it. I have to kind of rethink those things. I also have to think about using ways where trusts that are already in place. This answers the question that came up earlier. Trusts that are in place where people have already died. How do I now deal with those trusts? The trust where the surviving spouse, husband or wife, survivor, what do they have? Especially in a world where income taxes are important. Especially when the underlying assets within those trusts now have increased in value, but it has increased so much that they're going to include that in their estate. Right? There's ways to deal with that. But those are things that have to be adjusted. Every single one of those has to be looked at. Disclaimers, the revocable, irrevocable trust. Now we can do so many things with irrevocable trust that they're fundamentally revocable. I mean, we can have changes built in by both using trust protectors as well as independent trustees, as well as using decanting statutes that are in a lot of states to really cause these trusts to be substantially changed and restated to kind of fix them up where they weren't they were solving yesteryear's problem. You know, this is the idea that the generals constantly, always fight the last war. So we want to be able to be on the forefront of fighting the new war. And the other one that we want to think about, because I mentioned earlier asset protection, is I can now have a trust that I can create for myself and have asset protection. I can cause that to be either a gift which is complete, which means it's out of my estate, or it can be incomplete, which means it's still within my estate. But either way, I'm asset protected. But this no longer is kind of out there so iffy, where you're dealing with Alaska and Delaware kind of being the only ones that are doing it. Now you have 14 states, including the great Commonwealth of Virginia, has now adopted the opportunity where people can put their trust in. Freeze transactions, aftercare planning, again, ways that we can address change. What hasn't changed? Avoiding probate, protection of a surviving spouse, philanthropic objections, claims to heirs, with youth, responsibility, divorce protection, protecting against the classic affluenza issue of giving money to people too early. When I do workshops, I'm always stunned by the number of attorneys that raise their hand when I say, how many here are allowing the resources to go to family members at, say, tranches, a third at 30, a third at 35, a third at 40. We never do that in office. We always have dynasty or multi-generational trust, and I'm constantly surprised where that is happening. They're not doing it for their own spouse, but they're doing it for their kids. It seems kind of nuts. You don't know what's going to happen with your kids' lives. You kind of have a confidence if you marry someone for 20 or 30 years what's going to happen. But divorces happen, lawsuits happen, and they happen after people become 40 years of age. So, business planning. We at Wealth Counsel have started something called Business Counsel, which enables you to kind of more effectively write documents, or lawyers to effectively write documents. But the whole concept of what we can do with entrance, growth, maintenance, mergers, acquisitions, and exit strategies now become much more important for people doing the planning side of that, the merger, buy, sell, the insurance things. Those are all critical things as well. Elder care planning, special needs planning, and asset protection. What also isn't changing? The need for life insurance. As I mentioned earlier, it's probably gone up, right, because of the income tax consideration. But certainly all of these issues, liquidity, income replacement, paying state death taxes, there are 21 states that still have state estate tax, right, inclusive of D.C. and in Maryland. Wealth replacement for charitable buy, sell, capital gains liquidity, and for supplemental tax-free retirement. This is the one I mentioned earlier. All right, I'm going to move over this. In financial services, we're all aware that certain products and services have changed. There's now becoming a much greater division between what is advisory business and commission business. This is more what time is it strategy. Equity index products, people love them or hate them, but either way they're there. And the idea that you can use them or look at them is something you can make your own judgment on. But don't knock them out. There are people who wanted, the reason why they're such big sellers is because people are looking for certain kinds of guarantees. And guarantees in a world where people saw a third of their securities value or more drop between 2000 and 2003, and that very same thing happened again beginning in late 2007, 2008, through 2009 and beyond. There's a certain world of that, once worn, twice burned. But in a world where maybe some of these people have already been twice burned, they want to look for certain levels of guarantees. Private annuities, captive insurance companies, opportunities for business people to use other strategies. What also isn't changing for financial services, need for estate planning, client-centric planning, and to be used certainly as a financial complement to legal strategies, and we'll be talking about that.